Hello again, this is Joe Kelch for Calltronics Video Newsletter. We're reaching out to all the dealers with our monthly news reports for dealers. They come to you each second Tuesday of each month. Next one will be October 9th. Put it on the calendar. But looking ahead to tonight's show, we have quite a list of things to cover. We're going to see the Dealer of the Month. We're going to hear all about actuators. The sweepstakes will be coming your way, and a special introduction and more pricing specials. Now, let's get on with the show.
Calltronics is proud to announce we are now distributors for quality Luxor products. We here at Calltronics are delighted to now offer the great line of Luxor equipment and to provide a service center for those products. For more information, call our 800 numbers. The Nova M120 mesh antenna, it's new, and Calltronics is happy to introduce it here. It's a new concept in satellite antenna design. Simple, clean lines with easy-to-install panels. Just 1 hour for assembly. UPS shippable anywhere in the U.S. Precision die formed with extruded ribs for parabolic accuracy. The M120 is a full 10-foot dish for maximum gain with an FD ratio of 0.28 and a full 5-year limited warranty. The light weight of 165 pounds permits simple rooftop installations. Built solid and tough with a survival wind load of 120 miles per hour thanks to its 70% open area. It comes in black or aluminum. You'll be looking through it in your neighborhood soon. The M120 joins the Calltronics line of celebrated stainless steel antennas. The Nova SS Series, 66, 90, and 112. All are one-piece, smooth as silk, non-corrosive, extremely durable, and all have a 10-year warranty. For more information, call our 800 numbers. To help celebrate the new products, Calltronics is offering a sweepstakes, and you may be the winner. The prize is a complete satellite system. On a 3x5-inch card or plain piece of paper, print your name, address, and phone number. Then indicate whether you're a dealer or consumer by printing dealer or consumer on the card. That's all. Send the entry to Calltronics, Box 637, Richland Center, Wisconsin, 53581. The sweepstakes top prize, the satellite TV system, will include a rich black M120 mesh antenna, a quality Luxor 9550 receiver, coupled with a Luxor 9534 actuator for effortless satellite selection. 2 Luxor remote eyes to give you complete command of satellite and channel selection from 3 locations in your home. Also included, a 100-degree of OnTech low-noise amplifier and a P1 polar rotor by Chaparral. The Luxor 9550 receiver has a built-in Chaparral polar rotor control and modulator for vertical and horizontal polarization, signal strength LED display, stereo matrix, and direct systems with narrow and wide band deviation. Low threshold for video excellence, plus Dolby dynamic noise reduction and a 2-to-1 audio expander. It helps make this a quality system, and it's the prize in the Calltronics sweepstakes. This offer is void where prohibited by law. Shipping, delivery charges, and taxes are not included in the offer. Enter today to be eligible to enjoy a beautifully efficient Calltronics satellite receiving system by Christmas. Deadline for entry is December 1st, 1984, when the drawing will be held. But enter today. Great products. Great opportunities. Another reason to depend on Calltronics for quality antenna systems.
I'm Jim Atkinson, sales manager here at Calltronics. And for those of you that were at the Nashville show over Labor Day weekend, you are aware that we are now a distributor for Luxor satellite receiving and products. Those products include the 9550 infrared remote controlled stereo output with 2 other mono audio frequencies as well, digital readout, and that particular unit couples together with the 9534 actuator, allowing you to control the channel selection and also satellite selection from one handheld. And they also have the remote eye, which you can install in 4 different rooms in your house, giving you the capability of controlling the channel selection and also the antenna or the satellite selection from 5 locations. And then they also have a lower priced unit called the 9539 Scantic. Now we are now a distributor, so we have all these units available at very good prices. So please call any one of the toll-free numbers or either one of the warehouses, or write to any of the addresses listed on the screen during the program. And thank you very much, and please enjoy the show. And now Joe on location for the Dealer of the Month.
Here we are in south central Wisconsin, outside of Broadhead, Wisconsin, where the Dealer of the Month for Qualtronics is Century Satellite. And we've got the two co-owners here. We're going to learn a lot about how they started and where they're going. First of all, Gary Saunders on my left and Bill Prochnow on my right. These fellows have been, well, in the past, I learned, as a lot of people out there in the new satellite industry, were involved in other things. And they came aboard in the 1980s, and things are going very well. First, I'll start with Gary. What were you doing before you got involved with satellite?
Well, my background had been in sales. I had been in the lift truck business at one time and sold out that interest, and then got into the fire restoration business, which is quite far removed from the satellite industry, but I did have the experience of sales and management of the business, which of course has been very helpful to me in this business.
You bet it does.
Yeah.
And we'll find out just how helpful in just a minute. Okay, Bill, your background, I know a little about coaching and all that sort of thing.
Yeah, extreme different here. I rely on Gary, I guess, for all the business sense. I was in teaching and coaching and I guess more in the promoting, and that's where I fit in. I guess I feel we have to come up with new promotions or whatever, and part of my background might help in that phase of it.
Okay, now let's take a look at Century Satellite as far as what the history is of the firm. We'll start with Bill again. You got yourself going on a small scale, I imagine, like everyone else.
Yeah, we started out one dish, maybe a month or whatever, and the installs took a lot longer. It took us 2 or 3 days to install it, and we had service involved, and I basically doing it as a part-time job, and it gradually built and built. I guess more advertising, our name in the area, more people talking about satellite TV, just like any business, it will grow, and hopefully we had the right growth.
We might mention that we're on a fairly busy state highway here, and it's a very good spot to have a store. It's in south central Wisconsin, as I mentioned, not too far from the Illinois line, quite a busy area. How about your recollections of when you came aboard and the business itself, how it grew?
Well, we felt it would grow. It just took a little longer for it to grow than what we thought. Bill said we went part-time at it, and we still gradually kept putting more and more systems in, and word of mouth kept getting us more. And then our biggest step was when we opened this store, which has been about, I guess it's been about 6-8 months ago now, and that really gave us a location to work out of. And that was the biggest thing. We've put more systems in the last probably 4 months than we did the prior 4 years to that. And it's just been fantastic growth in the last several months.
What sort of a population base do you figure you service here? It's right out of the out of the hat. Yeah, I know there's a lot of
We've
people.
got large communities all around us, Madison, Rockford, Monroe, and Janesville. So we've got a good, let's say, rural area, and just in the outskirts where they can't get cable for us to sell to. So.
All within 40 or 50 miles?
Yeah, our radius is probably 40 miles.
And it means additional people on the service and
We've been
installation?
Adding several people probably every month because of the growth.
Right now, for instance, here in the end of summer, you are already putting in more than one a day.
Oh yeah, it's been averaging probably 2 a day for the last 3 weeks.
Beautiful.
We've been at some fairs, and we really feel we get great exposure at fairs, and a lot of the farmers are in to see us for the first time, and then it takes somebody to go out and do a site check or whatever, and they've been multiplying here quite rapidly the last month.
What we want to do is concentrate on sales, sales tips, techniques, how service enters into it. I think you wanted to call a sales rep in at this point, and we'll introduce him and get the three heads together and see what we come up with. Well, we've been joined now by Dwayne Schindler, who's a sales rep, and I understand that in addition to Dwayne, there are several other sales reps.
Well, yes, we have Mary Bell Saunders, which happens to be my mother and Bill's mother-in-law. She watches the store when we're out on installs, and we spend quite a bit of our time out of the store. And Bill's wife, Becky, who's here also and works part-time for us.
Great.
And does our books.
Yes. Now let's talk just a second about the Janesville shop, our store.
Right. We have a sales manager in Janesville area, and her name is Sue Hale, and she's in charge of, say, our advertising off that way, which is 20 miles away from Broadhead, and she's also in charge of the sales
Okay, now
for that area.
let's talk about the pros and cons of opening a second store in a larger area. Would you say that this is a natural?
The reason we started a second store is because we were having people come from Janesville to Broadhead, which is 20 miles, which I said earlier, and we felt, if that many people were coming to Broadhead, by opening a store in Janesville, we would, multiply it rapidly, and it worked out to be that way. We have a great flow, a good traffic area, and a lot of traffic in our store in the Janesville area.
And for those people out there who have never heard of Broadhead, Janesville, hopefully Wisconsin, we can say that Janesville is how many times larger? At least it's 50,000 compared to 500 here.
Yeah, about 3,500 in Broadhead.
In Broadhead,
Right.
3,500. Okay, so there you have the fact that if there is a large city, comparatively large, near where you are, and you think that they need satellite in your particular Coltronics line, that's the way to go.
That's right.
Just look at the overhead and go from there.
Correct.
We do still run all of our installations out of one location, out of Broadhead here, and then we have that's showroom over there
Okay.
primarily.
And sales people
And
drop in and then.
right, a regular retail store.
Okay, now we get down to the nuts and bolts. People have dropped into the store either here in Broadhead or at Janesville, and where do you go from there? What do you tell them?
Here's where, in this case, Dwayne's, the sales rep, spends a lot of time on the road, and he goes from, say, house to house where they've asked for a site check, and we go out and actually check and see if the antenna will be able to view all the satellites.
Okay.
Maybe he could give you some more
Yeah,
ideas.
I wanted to get a little insight into Dwayne's background. I talked to you just briefly before, Dwayne, and the fact that you had worked for the competition is a great asset for you.
Yeah, it is, because I know basically their installation tactics, what their price are, what they sell, so I can pretty much judge what we sell by what we used to sell there.
How about quality? How do you approach the stainless steel mystique?
As far as the price goes, I always try to encourage people to go with the stainless steel, because it's, I think is the best dish on the market. For strength, upkeep, you have none on that. Doesn't rust. It's 3 times as strong as aluminum fiberglass. There's no comparison. So I try to generally get them up to the stainless steel.
And tell them in the long run, or even in the short run, it's much more economical.
Yeah, because it could be the last dish a guy's going to have to buy. 20 years from now, it's going to be the same dish that you put out in the yard, Like I say, it's just the best dish I feel that's on the market.
Have you fellows noticed any different attitudes in the part of the general public toward satellite reception in general, or satellite TV? Gary, have you seen anything in the last year, for instance, or even?
Yes, we've people definitely know more about it now, and especially in this area, because this is around the Broadhead area where we feel we have promoted not just our product but the satellite television industry, and they see a neighbor and they've talked to him about it, and it kind of snowballs, and we're seeing that now over in Janesville, which that store has only been open a couple of months, but one person tells another, and that helps.
Okay. How do you stress service, Dwayne?
I think without a doubt that we offer the best service in the area. Just by my experience going out and selling to people and talking to people, and I make it a habit if I see somebody that has a dish to stop there too, because there's, just because they have a dish doesn't mean there isn't anything that we can't do for them. And I'd say in the last 2 months we've probably picked up 10 service customers that we didn't put the dish in.
And service definitely pays.
Yes, it does. In the long run, it's really going to pay, I'd say.
Someday in the future, they want to update. They think of the people that were servicing them and giving them good service.
Yeah, and I'm sure they'll come to us, at least give us a chance.
Yeah. Anything to add to that, Bill?
No, I just for one example, in the Janesville area on the south side, we put a couple dishes in, and in the last week and a half, we've sold several dishes right around that area. So it is a snowball effect. The one person tells the other, and that's probably the best advertisement we can possibly have.
Customer number one in an area is very important, and you treat them with the same service and kindness and solicitude. In other words, they tell a good story, and it just good business practice.
That's what we think. If there's any one thing that caused us to grow, it was to do our best to give the customers good service. That's that, and a good product is, you don't even have to be a salesman. Then the business sells itself after that.
Are they quite concerned about electronics, or is it basically the antenna, the dish itself, that they're concerned about?
I believe that, and we sell this too, the dish is a very important factor. Once we have a dish in, it's going to stay. Electronics can be updated every 2 years, every 5 years, or whatever.
Yes.
But that dish is very permanent, and that's why the stainless steel has been a really big seller for us. It sells itself. If you have it on display or whatever, people, know what the meaning of stainless steel is. It lasts forever. So.
Right. I know that quite a few dealers out there are sort of shying away from any financing. They don't even like to talk about it. They want dollar one and dollar last right there. How do you approach that?
Well, we contacted some finance people in the area, and got turned down by some, and we got a couple though that are financing our dishes, and we can offer it for $39, $40, $50 a month or whatever, comparing it to the people in town having cable, and that has been a big boost for us, the financing.
I just want to ask Dwayne, is that what you found also?
Yeah, I was, when cable came in, I was real glad to see it come in, because I knew it would just be a matter of a couple months and the people would realize what they don't get for what they're paying, and they have nothing to look forward to as far as stop paying someday. With a dish, at least in 5 years, a guy can be done paying, and you get, 20 times the amount of programming.
Great. I wanted to also try to check in on advertising. And that would encompass a lot of things, not only the ads in the papers, but promotion. Do you ever go to county fairs, for instance, Gary?
We just finished about 2 weeks ago, and that's sold a lot of units for us. We were at 2 fairs. They happened to be the same week, so we were spread kind of thin. Yeah. But I would say we did real well at those 2. And when we opened our store here, we had an open house. We did extensive advertising and special sales, and that kicked us off real well, too. We sold quite a few there.
Do you carry on any special advertising, even though it's small, in the local papers?
Yeah, we have a budget, which I can't tell you the exact figure on it, but we keep ourselves known in all the local papers. Any flyers that go out might be an ad in, and they keep seeing Century Satellites, and we usually have an advertisement in there about stainless steel. That also sinks in after a while that that's the place to come and buy from. So,
well, if you can reach most of the people in one medium, it's great. Well, here's that traffic. What do you people see as the potential in the satellite receiving systems? Are we just at the 3%, the 5% saturation, or is it a long way to go? Even beyond that.
People ask us once in a while, what are you going to do after you've sold them all in the area? But as soon as you drive around in the country for a couple of minutes, you can see all the places that don't have them. So I think we don't have to worry about that for quite a few years yet. And by that time, there'll be so many out, we will have a good, there'll be a good service base too.
How about the commercial end of it? Do you try to get the taverns and motels and that sort of thing?
We've been fairly busy with just the average home, and we've are in several bars, but the bars are not sure if it's if that's what they want or not, and we've been concentrating on the home.
Well, basically. You've got unlimited homes out there, it seems. Yeah. Well, thanks very much, fellas. Anything you want to add? You're happy.
Business is great.
I didn't ask you about your projection because people say, who knows what next year, you don't know whether to triple it or quadruple it or what.
We projected 100 dishes for 1984, and we probably touched that a couple months ago, so it's been, business has been growing real well. So,
well, congratulations to all these people as dealers of the months. We have the chance to talk to Sue Hale, who is the sales rep here at the Janesville store for Century Satellite. Newly opened, I might say. Is that just
That's right.
a couple months ago or
Right,
so?
the end of May.
Okay, and since then things have taken off.
Just have been great. We have people come in here all the time. We have people calling on all the time. It's just been great.
Where do you go from there? When people come in, do you ask them if they want a site check or if they're definitely interested or partially
You bet.
interested?
You usually can tell if they're pretty interested. You offer to go out there and do a check right on their property. And pretty much you go from there. Some of them will request for a demo or whatever, and usually that's how it goes.
Mm-hmm. Any sales tips that you can pass on, even though you're a newcomer to the field?
I tell you the truth, it hasn't been that difficult for me because I just sit in the office all the time, and people come in to see me. So as far as having any tips, it's been easy because people are so enthusiastic about this product. So it's been easy for me.
That's the way it is. All over America, people are enthusiastic. Some places have more competition. Mm-hmm. Possibly the competition might be fierce here. I don't know. But at any rate, once you sell the people on the quality of your product, you go from there. The Coltronic stainless steel is the prime example. What sort of background did you have, Sue? Here we go with a different background, huh?
I absolutely had no background in this kind of business. I was a physical education teacher for 10 years. The last couple of years I've been in the insurance business, so I've been in sales somewhat, so that's kind of helped me as far as talking to people and meeting people, but absolutely nothing as far as satellites are concerned.
But it has turned into almost a full-time job, or
Yes.
just about full-time?
It is. It's
Weekends and all.
right, right. Basically what's happened, I think, is because of our exposure now in this town. We did get into the Rock County Fair here in Janesville, and really since then we've just have been very busy because of that. People finally know that there's somebody here and they're interested in seeing the product.
We spoke just briefly about the fairs, and you were at the fairs?
Right, right.
Oh, let's talk a little bit about that.
Okay.
You have a booth,
Mm-hmm.
and people stop in. Are many people completely ignorant of satellite and how it works?
That's true. They basically, some of them have never even seen a dish before. They really were just interested. They wanted to see how one worked, what kind of picture quality we were getting on our TV. Basically, we had a van set up with 2 dishes and some different receivers set up, and we were really packed every night. People were just swarming in.
Mm-hmm. Okay, now in the background here we have one of the new Coltronic mesh
Mm-hmm.
antennas. It comes either in aluminum or black.
Right.
And there are people who say, I want mesh, even though they haven't even experienced stainless steel.
That's right.
So you have that to sell.
Right. We offer, everything anybody that anybody else has in this area, we're going to offer it to them. But again, we do specialize in the stainless steel.
Great. Well, Sue, lots of luck, and I hope if I talk to you next year, you'll say, I don't have time for anything but sales.
Sounds great.
Thank you. Sue Hale. Now let's take a look at some mesh antennas and the introduction from Ross Halverson, Vice President of Coltronics.
Thank you, Joe. I'd like to take this opportunity to introduce our dealers to the newest addition in our Coltronics product line, the M120. The M120 is a full 10-foot, 0.28 F to D ratio, and fully UPS shippable unit. The total shipping weight is 186 pounds. In the past, we have felt reluctant to offer our dealers a transparent antenna. With this unit, we feel the strength and the durability of the finish. We're confident that this will withstand weather conditions in our area and other areas of the country. In fact, we're confident enough that we're offering a full 5-year limited warranty with this unit. And we feel that this is going to be a great asset to your product line, especially for your customers that want a mesh dish. Assembly time is minimized with this unit. No clips and no wires. You merely attach the main beams to the center hub. The main beam sections are grooved. Insert your antenna section into the groove, slide it into the center hub, then you're ready to bolt on the outer ring. And the outer ring is 6 sections. This unit is available in 2 styles. It's available in the black, that's the black anodized framework, and the black powder coat inserts. It's also available in the clear anodized. Again, recapping some of the highlights of this antenna. First of all, the deep dish design and the transparent looks, the UPS shippability, the availability in different locations. We've got 3 locations, our location here in Wisconsin, Boulder, Colorado, and Las Vegas, Nevada. We have a full 5-year limited warranty, and I think that this would be a great asset to your antenna product line.
Thank you, Ross. Now let's turn to a subject that we're all going to enjoy and learn from. A couple of fellows from Houston Tracker have the facts.
Hello, my name is Glenn Messerschmidt, and this is Peter Cole on my right. We're with Houston Tracker Systems. We'd like to thank Calltronics for the opportunity today to showcase our product, which is satellite antenna positioners. We would also like to discuss, besides our product line, we would like to discuss our interfacing capability with numerous receivers, also actuators, and also the reliability of our product. First of all, I'd like to go through our product line, which consists of 4 different units. The first unit I'd like to discuss is the Tracker 2. Now, the Tracker 2 is a manual antenna positioner. It has your east and west drives and your on-off. Also, it has limit sets underneath. I'd like to show you this, where you set your limits on your dish. We do not manufacture anything without limits. We believe that all antenna positioners should have limits to minimize any problems a person may have by either driving his dish over or driving through it, etc., with the actuator arm. The next product I'd like to talk about is the Tracker 2 Plus. Now, this is also a manual antenna positioner, similar to the 2. However, it has a few other features. One, it has fast and slow speeds for east and west. It also has polarity control, and it also has automatic skew adjustment. Again, like the 2, you adjust your limits underneath the control box with a small screwdriver. You can also adjust your skew for transversing your arc, so you do not have to make readjustments with your polarity when you're changing from satellite to satellite. Our third product, which is a new product, and we're really excited about it, it's an economical antenna positioner that is programmable, and it comes standard with UHF wireless remote control. This is the handheld unit here. It's very simple to operate, and from a cost standpoint, as I mentioned earlier, it's extremely economical. You have your east and west drive buttons here for setting up your programming on it. You have a store position where you will go to the satellite type and the satellite number. Simply with a pencil, push in the store button, and it will store that satellite in the system. With the UHF wireless remote, again, you can use this in any room in the house because it's radio controlled. It is not infrared. Our fourth product is the Tracker 4, which is the top-of-the-line antenna positioner. The Tracker 4 comes in 2 different manners. You can get it with UHF wireless remote control, which is called the Tracker 4 Plus, or you can get it without UHF wireless remote as a standalone programmable system. Some of the features of the Tracker 4 are, it is like the 3 Plus, it is programmable. Also, it has automatic polarity control. So when you're going from satellite to satellite, you don't have to worry about your polarity because you have already stored it initially setting up the system. It also has parental lockout features, so you can lock either on a satellite or off of a satellite. Also, it has an interfacing capability with numerous receivers so that you can, via the remote, and I'll show you this one over here, as I've got that one set up there. With the remote control, via the interface, you have channel or transponder changing capability via the remote. Just briefly going over those, does anybody here have any questions that they'd like to ask about the products? All right. What we'd next like to discuss is our interfacing capability and what receivers we interface with. There are two types of interfacing, direct and indirect, and I would like Peter Cole here to discuss the applications of interfacing, what receivers we currently interface with, and what ones we will soon be interfacing with. Peter?
Okay. The Tracker 4 unit that Glenn was talking about here is a microprocessor-controlled device. Now, what that means is that it's very powerful and can do a whole lot of different operations from the single remote control. Now, what Glenn was referring to about interfacing was that you can connect the Tracker 4 up to a receiver and then from any room in your house control the channel that you are receiving on that receiver. And also you can position the antenna. Now, the way you can do that is because this is a UHF remote control, which is a radio remote control. It is not infrared or ultrasonic or any of the other types of communication. It is a radio remote control that you can use in any room of the house with this. And so now the two different types of interfaces that Glenn was referring to are direct and indirect. Okay? The direct interfaces are for step tuning receivers. For example, the Drake 240 or possibly the Luxor products can be directly interfaced with the Tracker 4 just by connecting wires between the Tracker 4 and the receiver itself. Now, when you connect up those wires, the tracker will know what polarity the receiver is in so that it will control the even or odd polarity that the receiver needs for the station it's attempting to receive. Also, I'd like to mention here that the polarity is programmable for each dish position that you set in the unit. Because of that, the unit never has to be skew compensated or reversed for Westars. If I call up a Westar and I've programmed the polarity in reverse, it will automatically reverse the polarity when I'm on the Westar. So the direct interfaces just connect between the receiver and the tracker with wires. Okay. Now the other family is the indirect interfaces, and they are for receivers that are pot tuned or that require a linear tuning voltage. A good example of this would be the 324, the Drake 324 for an example, or maybe the Automation Techniques 500, 520, or 560. There's a number of different receivers that we interface to now, and that is always increasing, that number. Now, the indirect interfaces require a small board that we call the RIB board, which is Receiver Interface Board. And here's what the board looks like. It's just a very small PC board that mounts inside of the receiver. Then these wires connect to the tracker to control the board, and these wires connect to the receiver. So then when I have this board installed inside of one of the receivers, then I can control the tuning of the receiver by using the Tracker 4 remote control in any room of my house. I have the ability to fine-tune using the tuning up and down buttons, and also to scan through and go to a station and fine-tune on it. So you can interface this with a number of different products, either indirectly or directly. And there's a list of the receivers, and we have a packet that you can either get from Tracker, and we will also provide Caltronics with it. So they will be able, you will be able to get this interface packet, and using that packet, it will give you all the information necessary to either do a direct interface or an indirect interface.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Peter. Do we have any questions here from
Yes.
anybody in the audience? Yes, sir.
How complex is it for, say, the average dealer to put the board in, or is that something that should be done at the distribution point by the distributor, one of his technicians?
I think I can answer that. When we originally came out with the board, we suggested initially that only the distributors put them in based on their knowledge of the receivers themselves. All right, since that time, we have discovered that numerous dealers around the country are very familiar with the receivers themselves, and that a good television technician can put one of the boards in. However, we do not recommend at all that the homeowner attempt to put one in.
This is something that requires good skills with a soldering iron, and we would recommend that a television type technician install it. It's not very difficult and it doesn't take very long, and that's what we recommend, is somebody with background in television at least.
Okay. And I believe there was another question back over here. All right, maybe we answered it. What I'd like to do now a little bit is go through a demonstration on the Tractor 4 Plus with the small mini dish we have set up here. And what it will do is illustrate to you how you're changing satellites and automatic polarity control. And Peter, you want to go through this? And maybe I
Okay.
can talk about it a little bit while we're going through it also.
Okay. The Tracker 4 is a microprocessor controlled dish positioning device, as I mentioned earlier. Now, what I'm going to do here is just show you basically how I would use the system once it's installed. Now, when you first plug in the unit, it goes through procedures to set the limits. Using the remote control, you can actually set the limits into the unit, and then it goes through and tells you how to adjust the polar rotor and how to set the dish, and then once you've done those things, you enter a function code and it will store that information. Now, we've put in 3 different positions into this unit earlier, and I'll call those up and talk about the way it operates. Now, first, I would like to discuss the front panel of the remote control here, the control here. You have 10 basic buttons that you use to control the device, to call up a satellite, or function buttons that operate the unit. You'll notice that the first 7 buttons have the names of common satellites written above them. Okay, Anik, Comstar, Galaxy, Satcom, SpaceNet, Westar, and then there's an other button. Now this is for any satellites that go up in the future or that do not have normal naming. You can use the other button to program in different positions for that. So you have those 7 different buttons that give you a prefix, or just the first part of your code you enter. You enter a satellite name and a satellite number. So that gives you the name that you enter. Now, the other 3 buttons here, which are function buttons, are not used normally just to call up positions. You use those to get other features of the unit, and I'll go over those in a minute. Now, you can then type, you've got the satellite name, that's the first 7 buttons, and there's 7 different possibilities there. You then can type just a 0 through 9, so you have 10 different possibilities for each of those names. So the unit can be programmed with 70 different positions. Now, you can also control the odd and even polarity. You can manually move the dish back and forth. You can put the unit into a parental lockout, and you can control the polar rotor and the receiver tuning from the remote. So you can do everything from the remote control. Now, let me just show you how I would call up a position here. Now, the unit says that it's on Westar 5, okay? And this number here directly reflects the position of the actuator. This is a Hall effect positioned actuator, and so this number directly reflects the actual count of the Hall effect pulses on the actuator. So to call up another position, for example, Satcom 3, I would type just Satcom and then 3. Now it moves the dish, beeps when it gets there, and then, I don't know if you noticed, but it moves the polar rotor also. Now that's because I programmed a different polarity for the polar rotor. Now this is very important to understand fully. If this is interfaced with a receiver and the customer switches the channels on the receiver, as they go from odd to even, the tracker will follow. The lights will change here, and it will move the rotor back and forth. And it will move the rotor to the exact two positions I programmed, whether they're skewed or reversed or whatever the situation may be. So you can watch the rotor now when I call back up Westar 5. Okay, so that's because the Westar is reversed format in relation with a SATCOM. Okay, the unit, I'll now go into the parental lock function on the unit. The parental lockout feature is very simple to operate. You simply use this button here to initiate it. Now I'm going to push that, and the unit tells me to enter a code. Now, upon entering a 4-digit code, the unit then says press lock. Now that is referring again to the button, the parental lock button. If I press that, the unit is now in parental lockout. Now when the unit is in parental lockout, I can change the tuning of the receiver. So if I were to lock this on a specific satellite, someone would be able to change the tuning of the receiver using the remote control. They would also be able to move the polar rotor back and forth, or it would follow as the receiver changes from odd to even. The polar rotor would move back and forth. Now, upon entering the 4-digit code again, the unit would come out of parental lockout, as just I did. Now, I'd like to also show you, though, something that you can do if you forget the code. Now the unit, okay, the unit is now in parental lockout, and I entered it with the same code. But if you forget the code, you can remove the unit from parental lockout by pressing on the on-off button and holding it in, and then tapping the red reset button in the back of the unit, and then releasing the on-off button. Now what that'll do is it'll get the unit out of parental lockout without losing any of the memory or any of the positions that I programmed in the unit. This feature is very important to the dealers so that they can not have a problem with having to go out and reprogram a unit because somebody forgets a number that they've put into the unit. So that's how the parental lockout operates. There's also a few other features I'd like to go over here. 07 will dim the display on the front panel of the Tracker 4. So I use the function code 0, and then I push 7, and it dims the display or brings it up to the original intensity. Okay. Okay. Also, the unit has the ability to give you the numbers, the satellite names and numbers that you've programmed into it. So you can get a satellite menu by typing 08. So now I enter 08, and it says satellite menu, and then it says SATCOM F3 and the number that it is programmed to, SATCOM F4, the number that it was programmed to, and then after it's gone through all of the different positions that you've programmed into it, it returns to the one that it's on. Okay. Are there any questions at this time about the operation of the Tracker 4? Yes.
Not so much on the operation of the Tracker 4. You referred that you use the Hall effect sensor as a sensing device.
Yes.
Maybe you can explain the differences from 10-turn pod.
Okay.
Yeah, I would like to, but I think there's a few other things I think we need to discuss first. If you could hold on just a few minutes, because we're going to go into actuators here in a minute. One of the things I wanted to show to people is on the function codes themselves in regards to adding satellites and deleting satellites, etc. I would like to just run through them, and there's about 5 of them, and Peter mentioned one of them to you in regards to dimming the display. For example, to add a satellite, the 02 function says right on the front there, enter satellite name and number, so it specifically tells you what to do. The 04 function is to delete a satellite, enter name and number.
Okay,
then there is also a 05 function.
Yeah.
And that says to enter 05 again to resync your actuator. And maybe you want to explain a little bit about resyncing,
The purpose of the resyncing code, which is 05, is merely if one were to remove the motor assembly from the actuator and run the system then, upon returning the motor assembly to the actuator, you would have to use the resyncing code or reprogram the unit. Now let me make it very clear what the resyncing code does. If I move my actuator out an inch, and that's with the motor off of the tube, okay, so I move the tube out an inch and then put the motor back on, I would have to use the resyncing code. It moves everything over. It moves the limits over, and it moves all of the dish positions over the amount that you move it. So this should not ever need to be used unless there's service being done on the system. Okay, if the 05 will not move just one satellite. Sometimes dealers are under the impression it moves one satellite, and then they can never get the system to operate because they shift back and forth everything. So you do just use that when the actuator, when you want to move everything the same amount, not when you want to move one thing specifically. I'd like to just show you all the way that this delete and program function works, as Glenn showed.
Yeah, why don't you add a satellite,
Okay,
Peter?
yeah, so I'll go ahead and
Everybody
add
can
a satellite.
see,
Okay, what I'll do is I'll just move the dish manually using the remote control of the tracker. Okay, so I just hit the east or west button. Now it's reached a limit, and it tells me that it says the east limit, and it gives me the number of that limit. Now if I wanted to change that limit, I would just use 04, but what I'll do is just arbitrarily find a position. Okay, I've now found a position I like. Now I'll use the clockwise and counterclockwise to set up my polar rotor. Okay, so I can program in any two polarities, and I'm using the clockwise and counterclockwise, tweaking out the picture. Okay, now I can check the polarities just by hitting the odd and even, and these are the two polarities that I've programmed. Now I simply enter 0, 2, and it says enter satellite name and number. Now I will call this one other 1. Okay, I've entered that now, and the unit, okay, let me see. Okay, let me check that I've entered that. Okay, now it says other 1, and it gives me the number that the Hall effect sensor has counted, as we'll discuss in a couple of minutes, and it repositions the polar rotor in B. So now, if I call up another satellite, it will move the dish and position the polar rotor accordingly to the programmed polarity. Now, if I were to put it 08, which is the menu, you'll see that we've added the other 1, which will come last here. Okay, there is the other 1 that we just entered. Now, if I want to remove it from the programming of the tracker, I simply enter 04, and it tells me to enter the satellite that I want to delete. And that's, oh, excuse me, I did the wrong one here. Okay, now I enter the satellite other 1. Okay, now if I get a menu, it will not be there. Or if I type other 1, it will say sat not stored. The unit is out of it's not in the programming of the unit any longer. So it would not be in the menu. That's how you program in a position and or take it out. And you can do that with the limits also on the programming of the unit. You can remove the limits and or change them.
Well, like all good things, they run long. And this was certainly informative about the tracker record and the products. Unfortunately, we ran short of time, and we're going to continue the discussion with the two gentlemen from Houston Tracker on our next show, which comes up in October. Right now, we're going to turn the stage over to Lonnie Freeman, sales representative here at Caltronics, going to be talking about a wide array of literature which you have available to you.
We here at Caltronics feel that one of the most important aspects of a profitable organization is support literature to be used as a sales tool. We have tried to make available to you, our dealers and distributors, a wide assortment of support literature. First and foremost of this support literature is our Nova TVRO catalog. In this catalog, we've described all the antennas made available to you by Caltronics and the specifications of all these antennas. In addition to this, in the back of the catalog, we provided brief descriptions of a large amount of electronics that we've made available to you so that you can put together a total package for your customer. We also make available one-sheet handout pieces to be used at fairs or in your store. Each of these handouts describes the antenna itself, the specifications of the antenna, And in this particular instance, on the SS112, we've also put on here test results showing you that it is compatible with 2-degree spacing. In addition to this, we've also provided for you a full color poster showing you the 3 sizes available in stainless steel, the 66, the 90, and the 112-inch antennas. In addition to this, we do a large amount of advertising in the trade journals. This benefits you by the wide exposure that we have projected to the public. All of this literature is available to you, the dealer, and any new or prospective dealer may call and receive this literature by calling the number that you see shown on your screen.
Calltronics is proud to announce we are now distributors for quality Luxor products. We here at Calltronics are delighted to now offer the great line of Luxor equipment and to provide a service center for those products. For more information, call our 800 numbers. The Nova M120 mesh antenna, it's new, and Calltronics is happy to introduce it here. It's a new concept in satellite antenna design. Simple, clean lines with easy-to-install panels. Just 1 hour for assembly. UPS shippable anywhere in the U.S. Precision die formed with extruded ribs for parabolic accuracy. The M120 is a full 10-foot dish for maximum gain with an FD ratio of 0.28 and a full 5-year limited warranty. The light weight of 165 pounds permits simple rooftop installations. Built solid and tough with a survival wind load of 120 miles per hour thanks to its 70% open area. It comes in black or aluminum. You'll be looking through it in your neighborhood soon. The M120 joins the Calltronics line of celebrated stainless steel antennas. The Nova SS series, 66, 90, and 112. All are one-piece, smooth as silk, non-corrosive, extremely durable, and all have a 10-year warranty. For more information, call our 800 numbers. To help celebrate the new products, Calltronics is offering a sweepstakes, and you may be the winner. The prize is a complete satellite system. On a 3x5-inch card or plain piece of paper, print your name, address, and phone number. Then indicate whether you're a dealer or consumer by printing dealer or consumer on the card. That's all. Send the entry to Calltronics, Box 637, Richland Center, Wisconsin, 53581. The sweepstakes top prize, the satellite TV system, will include a rich black M120 mesh antenna, a quality Luxor 9550 receiver, coupled with a Luxor 9534 actuator for effortless satellite selection. 2 Luxor remote eyes to give you complete command of satellite and channel selection from 3 locations in your home. Also included, a 100-degree of OnTech low-noise amplifier and a P1 Polarotor by Chaparral. The Luxor 9550 receiver has a built-in Chaparral Polarotor control and modulator for vertical and horizontal polarization, signal strength LED display, stereo matrix, and direct systems with narrow and wide band deviation. Low threshold for video excellence, plus Dolby dynamic noise reduction and a 2-to-1 audio expander. It helps make this a quality system, and it's the prize in the Calltronics sweepstakes. This offer is void where prohibited by law. Shipping, delivery charges, and taxes are not included in the offer. Enter today to be eligible to enjoy a beautifully efficient Calltronics satellite receiving system by Christmas. Deadline for entry is December 1st, 1984, when the drawing will be held. But enter today. Great products. Great opportunities. Another reason to depend on Calltronics for quality antenna systems.
Well, Jim Atkinson, sales managers love to talk about pricing. What's the latest on pricing?
Well, indeed we do. Remember the flyer. We're extending the deadline on the prices until the next show of October 9th. The LNA prices have dropped. CalAmp LNAs are down $20, and Drake LNAs are down $30 from the prices listed in the flyer that we sent to you. And again, for those of you who do not have the flyer, please give us a call on the numbers listed or write to us by the address indicated on the screen. And also on the SkyTouch actuator, we have now got a new control for that. Well, let me get that so I can show that to you. Okay,
Jim. While you're gone, I'd like to talk about the tremendous exposure that Calltronics has been getting with the STV Vantenna, the Can-Am Tour, back and forth across the continent 3 times. 3 times entire round trip, and the fellows that you recall we talked to last time had 30,000 miles in view for the entire trip. Now, what I meant was good exposure was the fact that all of the testing will be done on stainless steel from Calltronics, and that is great. we have our logos to help you dealers on the dishes, and all of the exposure of hundreds and even thousands of people seeing the Vantenna as it goes across the country. What could be sweeter? Oh, Jim, you got the
I sure do.
electronics that you wanted to talk about?
This is a new controller for the SkyTouch. If you recall, the last one had a separate power supply. And with this control, the power supply is built internally into the control. And a simple east-west, up and down movement for it. And it makes it a much neater package for the homeowner. So with this coupled with the system of the ball drive and the 36-volt DC motor, it'll make a very nice package. However, the only bad news is this control, being how it's a little nicer package, is $30 more than the old SkyTouch actuator.
Well, thank you, Jim. And as Jim had told you, the pricing that was on the SkyTouch that was so favorable, and any other pricing that you've seen during the show. Remember, the numbers that were on screen during the show are the numbers to call. Now to close, I'd like to introduce again John Call, president of Calltronics, who has a special message of real importance to you people.
I'm very pleased to make an announcement of an additional regional warehouse in Atlanta, Georgia. This office will be in addition to our office in Las Vegas, Nevada, headed up by Rudy De La Paz, and our office in Boulder, Colorado, whose manager is Peter Beeman. The office in Atlanta will be headed up by Ron Cockroft. Ron has been with our firm now for 2 years, and we're very pleased to have the opportunity to have him there as regional manager. Congratulations, Ron.
Thank you, John. I appreciate the opportunity to manage the warehouse in Atlanta. I'll be there to answer any questions on our product line or pricing of our product line, and I'll be located at Suite 1, 1700 Cumberland Point, Marietta, Georgia, and that's just off U.S. Highway 41.
We are very pleased to continue these programs for our dealers. Our next show will be aired October 9th, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Any comments or questions, please send them in. We're always eager to answer any questions. Until next month, good evening.